Welcome back to the Shift Your Vibe to Thrive podcast. If you are new here, I am Emily Evans Russell, and I am your host. And today we get to talk about one of my favorite topics. If you know about my story, I spent almost a decade getting to work with practitioners, facilitators on growing and developing their business. And people who work with energy, bodies, I'll call them healers. You know, we might not think of ourselves as healers, but if you are alive and breathing, when we interact with people, we are healers, right? And in this episode, we're going to talk about the paradox that shows up in a lot of those businesses and why many healers and practitioners struggle with the business side, despite having really incredible gifts to share, right? We're going to talk about the 3 essential elements that I have found that transform someone who is a gifted practitioner into a successful business owner and creator. And here's a cool twist. We're going to dive into how a dysregulated nervous system can actually sabotage your business, and how to notice, like, how can I tell if my nervous system is dysregulated? And then I'll give you a couple simple regulation techniques, which means, like, how do we bring our nervous system back into balance? And why does all this matter? Well, if your gifts that you have deserve to reach more people and spread that light and gift in the world. And also, you deserve to create revenue and income from those gifts, right? So we will chat about some of the really common misconceptions in this episode. Like, success does not require you choosing between a business strategy that, like, you're like, this kind of sucks and doesn't feel like me, or I'm only going to do energetic practices. Like, you do not have to choose between the two. The magic is in using them both. You do not need to sacrifice your well-being to grow your business. I know there are many strategies out there that practice or integrate differently, and I'm going to talk about why you don't need to do that. And marketing does not have to feel inauthentic to be effective. Like, you get to be you. And your intuitive gifts, your knowing, your wisdom, that can actually translate to really great business skills. It's just reorienting how we look at those things are not separate. They're wonderful to include in the same universe. So let's dive into this episode and get right into all the good stuff. Okay, to start off this episode, I actually want to dive into a bit of my own personal story, just to share with you guys why this topic is such an important one to me. Because it's not just because I work with people, a lot of people who often are growing a business or would like to start one or have these ideas, but because for me personally, you know, I feel like I had a heart-to-heart with the universe a couple years ago. I guess really like a year and a half ago. And I sort of made this demand where I was like, hey, I am not going to run my life and my business in the way that I have been for the last decade. I'm just not going to do it. I was burnt out, meaning like I didn't identify. It wasn't like, oh, I have burnout, until all of a sudden I realized, oh, I'm frustrated, I'm cranky, I'm either really on feeling like I have to juggle a million balls and that's where my worth comes from, and just a lot of yuck stuff. And I didn't realize how exhausted I was, because I have a lot of energy and I actually like having different projects to work on. But you know how you don't notice how something is affecting you until you remove yourself from it? Like, if you've always eaten unhealthy, you don't know how good it feels to eat differently if you're still eating the same way, right? You're like, oh, and then all of a sudden, if you switch your diet, you're like, oh my God, I feel amazing. I didn't know I could feel this good. Same thing when the work pattern I had been in for so long, I was used to it. There was many great things about it. So until I removed myself from that environment and situation, I didn't realize like what messages my body was giving me. I couldn't see that all, right? Because I was too in it. So when I started to realize, wow, my body really does not want to be, nor do I desire to be on a computer for more than like 3 hours in the day. So, hey, business and hey, universe, like we've got to create something different. As my 2 daughters have gotten older, and I just love hanging out with them and spending time with them, and soon enough, in several years, right, maybe they'll be out of the house, or my older one will be possibly, in college or traveling or who knows. And I just do not want to sacrifice that time with them. Also, my other like relationships in my life, friendships, time outdoors, the ability to have a flexible schedule and go to a yoga class in the middle of the day or read a book on a weekend, and travel in the middle of the week. Like there's just certain things I was like, I know it's possible to create a thriving business in a different way. And so part of this comes with the choice and the knowing of, if you have something to offer the world and you really love it and you love to do it, it's like, let's actually create a business that can support that in your life. Because you do not have to sacrifice your lifestyle and your well-being just to be successful. And what happens is, if we don't consider what we want our life to look like and we just have an idea about an amazing business, we will create that business at the sacrifice of other things in our life. And we kind of don't notice it till it's shown up and be like, whoa, I don't really have time to cultivate friendships or be in my community or hang out with my kids. Okay. So it's really looking at all of this from a very holistic approach. And also knowing that there is a mix of actual business strategy required and things to know about that. And when you also bring the magic of energetic practices to that, it's wonderful. But I've seen too many people go in either or, right? Like, well, I'm having a workshop and I've been pulling energy and connecting with the molecules, and that's great. But if you're only doing that and you don't have a system to invite new people into your world, or a system about like your messaging and how are you creating the flow and the nurturing once you get people into your world and on your email list or in your group or community, it's like there's actually things to look at on the practical business side, and it doesn't have to feel sleazy or icky. I think all of us know that sense of marketing or sales where you're like, ew, I feel like someone just slimed all over me, right? And so a lot of us have like, I don't want to do that. We're going to talk about some of these like common struggles and points of view that show up when we do have a business, like when we are a healer, practitioner, coach, that show up for a lot of us when we're looking to grow our business. But that part of business can really be a conversation, and it does not have to feel inauthentic to be effective. Actually, the more you are and the more real and unique, the more effective it is, while also knowing there are some principles and dynamics in business and sales and marketing and like buyer psychology that operate just like the law of gravity. Like even if you don't agree with it, it still operates. There's like some of those things in business too. So it's good to know them, right? And then of course you can choose like, hey, this works for me, this doesn't. Okay. So let's start with some of the content here of why do so many healers and practitioners struggle with the business side. I'm going to name these and there's probably a lot more, but here are some that I have identified. I've either had them personally or definitely like noticed these points of view with myself, with other people, with clients. And just as I kind of go through these, noticing, oh, okay, maybe that's something like once we're aware that we have a point of view or we have a conflict in our worlds, then we can change it, right? And a lot of it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I had that belief floating around in my head. Okay, I could see how that'd be a conflict with growing my business. So the first one is a basic identity conflict. So most of us that have entered into a field to help people. So that could be, again, as a healer, as a teacher, as a nurse, so many things, right? But especially when we enter our work to help people, So that could take a lot of forms. But when that is the energy of our job, and that's why we started our field, we weren't thinking, oh, I want to do this to be a business person a lot of the time. So what happens is we actualize and manifest what we believe ourselves to be. So what we be and the energy that we are and that we believe we are is what we attract. It's like that whole like attracts like. It doesn't come just from positive thoughts like I want to be a good business person. If we don't identify as I am a talented CEO, I'm an entrepreneur, then we cannot manifest that because we're not vibrating at that. We don't agree with it. So there'll be an unconscious conflict or resistance to identifying as that. Like I'll give you an example. The family I grew up in, and I don't know if these were really like conscious conversations, but I just always had this idea that entrepreneur was kind of a dirty word and that businessmen were out there kind of taking all the money and away from people that needed it. And so with that, like that kind of goes into that went into my subconscious. And I did not identify as an entrepreneur or business person. So when I first started, I first became a yoga teacher was when I first was like, oh, you know what? This is like my own business and I'm going to require to attract clients. And oh, maybe I should this was a long time ago, a smartphone so I could start a social media account, right? But I didn't identify as that. I just wanted to help people and work with bodies and energy and empower people. Like that's always been my mission, whether I've been like a high school teacher, a yoga teacher, or a facilitator, breathwork coach, like any of this, right? So part of this is realizing, oh, if you have any negative associations with the word, like entrepreneur, business owner, all of that, to kind of just notice that and then be like, oh, is that actually true? Are 100% of entrepreneurs that? Like bad people stealing money? No, but I had that. That's just one example, right? And until I looked at that and really was like, oh, wait, being an entrepreneur for me is a lot about creativity and connection and creating engagement and community and all the things I really love. So I had to rewrite that story for myself in a way that was useful to change that so there wasn't a conflict there with identity. But I see that show up for a lot of people, which can cause this paradox of I would like to have a business, but I don't feel like I have that identity. Another one is discomfort around exchanging money or an energy exchange, a value exchange, because many healing traditions or practices often have had, or at least there's a lot of points of view and beliefs around healing, like a complex relationship with that and money. Does not mean that is true, right? But again, before the age of 7, our subconscious, our unconscious is programmed with the things we've heard, the people we're around, beliefs they go in, right? And so we have to consciously choose, which ones of these are useful, which ones aren't, and rewrite our subconscious, right? So this does take doing some work, but for this podcast, let's just point out some ones that might be there. So first we can just identify it, because once we're aware, again, we can change that. So often what I've seen is practitioners can be torn between desiring to serve other people and help others, and also the requirement to create revenue and a comfortable revenue and living for offering that service. So what happens here and how you might notice if there's some discomfort in receiving money for services is there may be a pattern of undercharging or over delivering, like you feel like you're making up for something by having a monetary exchange for services, or just a real discomfort with any sort of sales conversations or when money comes up. Like if someone, and that could be for your own offerings and prices, or when you're looking to invest in something else, like a genuine, like overall discomfort with money and sales conversations. Another thing I see a lot that can create this conflict or paradox in business is healing work is a very kind of intimate or private by nature, right? And so if, especially you're someone that has a one-to-one practice, the public nature of marketing and putting yourself out there can feel very exposing in a way that's very different from one-to-one client work. So there can be some visibility resistance, and there are many ways to change that. But again, just noticing, like that may be something that shows up if you enjoy and have been working a lot one-to-one. And these are all things that we can shift. I mean, owning a business, running a business, being an entrepreneur is the greatest stage for personal growth, because it will show you and bring up the places where like, hey, here's where you may not be willing to be visible. Is that something that is actually like, would you like to move past that? Would you like to change it and grow? When you grow, your business grows. And so business is a beautiful way to expand and grow here, if we view it that way. Because it can be challenging. And then also there is, now this is changing, I would say, in the world, but there can be an integration gap between like getting training in something, taking a class, getting a certification, where we're excited to learn that, right? We really want to offer this to the world. But if the certification is solely focused on the modality and there's not a business component, it can leave people very unprepared for like the practical goodies of what it takes to build a business, and a sustainable business and a profitable business, right? A lot of certifications now do include that. So if you're looking to get another training, that's amazing. Like look for a certification. Like, will I have this? Once I take this, will I have this certification my whole life? Is there business training included? Or looking to, get a mentor or a coach for business training, or take a program that again feels good to you, feels aligned with your energy, because there is a lot out there, and everyone, especially when it comes to marketing and business, will be like, hey, this is the answer. You've really got to check in with you, and choose people or programs that you're like, oh, that feels really good to me, and I will learn something. Because there's, I work with mentors and coaches and take programs. I'm always desiring to learn about this aspect so that my business can grow and I grow, and I just understand people and new ways of using technology and engagement. Like I like to geek out on it. You do not have to be that way, but if you are an entrepreneur and wanting to have a successful business, then there are some things that at the beginning, like to learn, immerse yourself in, or learn how to bring people into your business that can do the parts that you're like, yeah, this isn't really my forte right now. So those are some of the things that I've noticed create that paradox, and why there's a struggle with the business side when we may have really awesome gifts to offer the world. Some other challenges that those of us that are intuitive and practitioners face in business is being very energetically aware. This is a superpower when we work with clients and have those one-on-one or group sessions where we can follow our knowing and our intuition. And that broad scope of awareness can also lead to business things feeling overwhelming, like going on social media and going to a business event or conference and feeling like, oh my gosh, I feel totally depleted or drained. And there, of course, are energetic practices and other ways to not have to experience that drain. But I'm just pointing out that can be a challenge for people, right? That if we don't acknowledge it and address that it's there, can keep us kind of avoiding the business side of things that would actually help your business grow. Like having conversations with people, going to conferences, events, being on social media. You don't have to do all those things, but if you find yourself avoiding it, it's like, oh, well, then maybe I need to look into how do I use the superpower of energy awareness for me, and be able to be in groups or events in a way that does not feel depleting. Then a lot of traditional business advice. Again, that's out there. I tend to find, business programs and work with coaches that are very also energetic, but a lot of business advice focuses like maybe only on metrics or strategy. And that is an important, like, you need to know your numbers. But if we only look at the traditional metrics, analysis, strategy, a lot of us that are intuitive will be like, but that's not how I make choices. And it can feel not aligned. And so it's essential to find ways to honor your intuitive, like, choice making skills, while also being able to implement strategy and foundations and a knowing of your numbers, so you know what's profitable, what's not, because it can feel like speaking two different languages until we integrate both into our business. Also, business does require a consistent output, or at least momentum can really help a business grow. And for most of us, we function in cycles, right? There's natural cycles of energy and creative flow. So acknowledging that and finding a way to build a business around your energy cycles is key. That is not talked about in a lot of normal, quote, normal business programs, right? And so it can keep us, again, avoiding or shying away from business because we're like, but I can't do that every day. I can't show up and I don't want to just push through it for 8 hours. Like, especially if you're a woman, we are cyclical in nature. And so it really is finding a way to create a business that honors that and prioritizing your energy. Hey guys, it's Emily, and I'm just popping in here for a moment to ask you a question. Have you ever had that feeling where you're craving more connection with yourself, going in, but meditation feels impossible and other practices either feel too intense or like they're just not working? I get it. That's why I created Coming Home to You, which is a monthly breathwork membership where transformation unfolds naturally at your perfect pace. Each month includes a 30-minute rejuvenation session and a 60-minute deep dive breath journey, plus community support and recorded sessions that you can access anytime, anywhere. And as a trauma-informed breathwork facilitator, I'm here to guide you to create that sense and feeling of coming home to yourself, where your intuition and knowing flow and choices become clear. If you're ready to experience the magic, visit emilyevansrussell.com/breathe to join us. Because sometimes the simplest path home to you is through your breath. It can also sometimes seem challenging to basically, like messaging. How do we talk about what we offer, energetic work, transformational work, to people in a way that makes sense, and also is inviting and specific enough, but not limiting. And we don't want to, I know a lot of people I work with, like, I don't want to sound like traditional sleazy marketing. You won't. And there is a real art to getting your message across. And so again, that I can see people struggle a lot with that in getting that translation across, basically, of what you offer energetically into words that might be on a website or in social media or in a one-to-one conversation that are helpful to grow your business. So in my time, getting to work with a lot of different practitioners and having a business myself and group programs and one-to-one clients, I will say there are 3 elements that, at least for me, I have seen, and for clients, that are key for creating a sustainable growth and enjoyment and fulfillment with your business. And one of these is taking into account and designing your lifestyle first, and so that your business fits around that. I have definitely done the other way, where I was so focused on growing the business and my career that things in my life that I prioritized or valued kind of fell to the wayside. And like I said, I would say I wasn't even super consciously aware of it because I love creation and I was loving, growing my business. But What will happen if we don't look at our lifestyle and priorities first, then we can grow a really awesome business, but you might end up resenting it or feeling overwhelmed or drained or anxious or a whole other things if there's not an honoring of the things you also value in life. And that could be your time away from a screen. It could be time with family. It could be travel. I don't know what it is for you, but that's where we've got to look at that first so that we can then find, okay, what is optimal for hours a day meeting with clients? What's optimal for how much I want to be on the computer? And that way you can have very clear, energetic boundaries and ideas for where your business fits in with your life. So you're not all of a sudden working 8-hour days or doing 3 hours of computer work on the bed at night or checking messages in the morning. Like, I've been there and it's not fun. It's not, and it's really not great for your body and your nervous system. So let's talk a little bit about your nervous system and how a dysregulated nervous system can sabotage your business and your creation in different ways. So let's start first with when our nervous system is dysregulated, it can show up as very inconsistent action. Why is that? Because we're cycling between hyperarousal, like being very activated and taking very frantic, scattered action, feeling overwhelmed. It's that like hypervigilant arousal, feeling anxious, like I can't slow down because if I do, I'm going to fall behind. And then cycling between that and then hypoarousal, which is more feeling frozen, like unable or I don't want to or I can't move forward. And when we have that cycle between hyper aroused and hypo aroused, and we're just cycling between those two poles, then that creates a pattern of inconsistent action that prevents this beautiful flow of energy and momentum. Also, when our system is dysregulated, it means basically our nervous system has read the environment as something's a threat, and maybe that's showing up as I don't have enough money in my business, or I can't deal with all these messages or client emails, or don't want to go to the office, or whatever that is. If our system goes, there's a threat in the environment, we're not in our relaxed parasympathetic state, then what happens is we lose access. We literally lose access. Survival becomes the main priority. And so we lose access to like our higher functioning, executive functioning brain. We lose access to our intuition, our awareness, our creativity, our ability to extrapolate, our digestive system, immune system. All those things are like, they're not important when you're surviving. So we lose access to all of these really beautiful things. So choices, which are key in business, problem solving, looking at different possibilities, innovating, go out the window. So we end up stuck and choices become hard. Clear, aligned business choices require a regulated nervous system. The other thing that happens from dysregulation, and again, we could be cycling between very hyper-aroused or hypo-aroused, or you could kind of be stuck on. Like I was very much stuck on in hyper mode. But that dysregulation basically creates like a drain of energy on the system. And so all of the energy, because think about it, if there was the brain, the nervous system is very ancient and it's connected to that very primitive part of the brain, which is like, thank goodness, its number one priority is to survive. So if there were a saber-toothed tiger about to eat you, we want 100% of energy going into survival, 100%, right? Which means blood goes to the muscles so that you can run away or fight. And therefore, energy is drained from the like creative work that's required to grow a business, sessions with clients, business building. There's like this invisible constant energy drain that reduces our resiliency and our capacity to create. So dysregulation basically is a massive energy leak. Also, when we are dysregulated, our ability to be present is very compromised. Like I was just talking with a friend today who was saying, man, that part of being present is just so hard for me right now. and we were chatting about this idea of let's maybe try to work in some really simple regulation practices, which I'm going to give you a couple before the end of this podcast. Because for a business, we require to be present with our clients when we are in session to create really authentic, beautiful, original content. When we're planning out our offers, our business, our ideas, they require presence and our ability to access our knowing and our intuition. So when we're dysregulated, we don't have access to that, which makes having a business, and especially one that feels fulfilling and good, really, really difficult, if not impossible. And then, of course, when we are dysregulated, like our energy is sort of all over the shop, right? And if you have a business where you work with people, which is all businesses, I mean, it differs how we work with them, but to attract people and clients that we desire to work with, it's all about energy. And a regulated nervous system naturally attracts and pulls people in because it allows people to feel safe and calm in your presence. And when we're dysregulated, we know we feel all over the place, and that energy transmits out. So it doesn't create as clear of, I want to say, like a signal to invite people into your world to work with you. And a way to look and kind of notice, hey, could this be something that's affecting my business growth? Is my nervous system playing a role here? Is like, are you procrastinating on tasks that are require visibility? Like putting off creating content or showing up in a video or going to an event or sending newsletters. If you find yourself procrastinating on things that require visibility, that could be a sign your nervous system is sort of stepping in saying, that doesn't feel safe to me. So again, that's why we go to like techniques that can help regulate our nervous system and go, you know what, it's actually safe to do a video. It's safe to show up. If you have any physical tension, shortness of breath, tight shoulders, your stomach takes butterflies when you're doing business activities, especially like anything involving conversation, sales, marketing, planning, that's your body giving you a sign that, hey, this the body's reacting to it as this is not safe. If you find yourself stumbling over your words when talking about pricing or avoiding money conversations or feeling a need to have to justify your rates or prices, again, that could be a sign. Nervous system does not feel like this is safe. All or nothing business cycles. If you're either all in, intense overworking, and then complete avoidance of your business without finding a sustainable rhythm, that can be another sign that, oh, my nervous system is stepping in here and saying, this is not working for me. Comparison spirals. If you find yourself constantly comparing yourself with other businesses, other practitioners, other people, and either feeling really inadequate or very superior, again, that's a sign your nervous system is giving you that this is not feeling safe or comfortable, and it can be like it shows up, it looks like it's sabotaging yourself. Blah, blah, easy for me to say. Sometimes I swallow my own words. Okay. And then also, if you find like having clear boundaries in your business, like if you collapse those, like difficulty saying no to when you're going to take sessions or clients, or have resentment about showing up in your business, they're all signs that your nervous system isn't supporting those healthy boundaries that need to be in place so you have a business you love and a life that you love. Okay, so let's just end this podcast with a couple different ideas, techniques for you to play with for regulation. And I invite you guys to go back to some of my previous episodes. There's a breathwork, the breath and money connection episode. I give different breath techniques. The few of the most recent episodes, I give other different breath techniques. If you go to my website, EmilyEvansRussell.com, you can get a whole free breathwork session and another one. There's lots on there for you to play with, but I'd like to give you just a few in this podcast, really simple. The first one, I'm gonna call it the CEO breath. It's not really called that, but let's call it that because it shifts you from overwhelm to being able to have access to that executive functioning, those higher aspects of your brain and your intuition, because we're switching out of stress, fight, flight, freeze mode and into relax and create and heal and digest mode, right? In the parasympathetic state. So what this is going to look like is inhaling through your nose for roughly a count of 4, and however if you want the 4 count to be comfortable for you, and then briefly pausing at the top. So just a little slight hold, and then exhaling through our mouth for somewhere between 6 and 8 counts. So we're making the exhale longer than the inhale. And if it feels good, also making a slight sound on that exhale. And then repeating that breath in through the nose for 4 counts, pausing, slight hold at the top, exhaling longer for 6 to 8, and then repeating that, let's say 5 times before anything like a business activity, writing an email, having a call, showing up on a Zoom, designing an offer, or after something that stressed you out during your day. So this could be something you do before something that creates stress, checking your bank account or business accounts, or after something that kind of like rattles you a bit. What's happening is here, when we extend our exhale, again, we're activating our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our like peaceful rest, calm, it's a switch that allows us to switch into that state, which brings our body back into that place where we have access to clarity, to intuition, to our prefrontal cortex, all these things that are great for business. So to demo that, it would be like inhaling through your nose. So for a count of 4, we'll begin an inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, holding at the top. And then exhaling through the mouth for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, I teach breathwork that is very like trauma informed, meaning I don't like to tell you your pace because I'm not with you. I don't know how you're breathing. I don't know what feels good in your body. But basically what we're going for here, pardon me there. My alarm was just going off, is inhaling through the nose, count of 4. Exhaling through the mouth for twice as long or close to that. And doing that for 5 rounds. So in through the nose, in, 2, 3, 4, hold. And then exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale through the nose, 2, 3, 4, hold. And exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So something like that on your count. And what we're doing here, it seems really simple, right? But here's the beauty. It is actually simple to begin these practices. Every time you take a few breaths, you're adding in information and feedback to your nervous system of, hey, we get to switch off of activated mode and into this different state that is highly advantageous to create a business, to find it fulfilling, to have a balanced life. So that is, we're going to call that the CEO breath for this episode. And then this is another one which can be really great to basically settle into the body and listen to our internal wisdom and knowing to take an action. So this is a technique to regulate our nervous system before taking an action, or if we're having confusion and about what action to take. Is you're going to sit down and find a comfortable place to sit, and then place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. This connects us with our body, right? And if you're in a space when you do this where you can soften the gaze or close your eyes altogether, and then just taking 3 slow, deep breaths in whatever way is comfortable for you. So that could again be in through the nose, then out through the mouth. Or it could just be in and out through the nose. And after those 3 breaths, taking a moment to connect with that bigger why that lives within you, why you love doing this work, why you are so devoted to this business and so excited to share it. So take a moment to tap into that energy. Then after those breaths and connecting with the energy, asking yourself the question, this could be out loud or in your mind's eye, what's one small aligned action I can take right now? See what pops up. It might be something you see in your head. It might be an idea. It might be nothing at the moment. Once we ask the question, we've already put it into motion. You will get an awareness. It might be right in the moment. If you do get something, visualize or see yourself or sense yourself or feel yourself taking that action with ease. And then here's a really, really valuable part is not only sense and see yourself taking that action, but feel that sense of accomplishment of how good it feels to have done it. We want to orient our mind to take actions that feel good to have done. And then give your body the sense of, oh my gosh, that feels so good to have that done. So that's a way to anchor into aligned action. So again, just pausing, sitting down, placing a hand on the heart and the belly, closing the eyes, taking a few deep, slow breaths, connecting to that energy of your bigger why and asking, what's one small aligned action I can take right now? And then however you see that, some of us are visual, some of us feel it, but tap into actually having done it and doing it and then having done it and getting that sense of, oh my gosh, that feels so good to have done that for my business. So I hope that those little simple techniques are a contribution to having something to play with, with regulating our system, and that through listening to the episode, you're getting an idea of, okay, are there things like places I have conflict between growing my business and this amazing gift I have to offer the world? Because I would love to help you resolve that conflict. About a month ago, I put out an invite to people on my email list saying, hey, I'm open for free 30-minute one-to-one calls about your business. Like, are you having a challenge? Let's get on, talk, see what the challenge is, and see what that would be like if that were resolved, And through those conversations, I probably had about, 10 or 15 of them. They have all been so fun and such a gift. And through those conversations, I realized there was a very common theme. And a lot of it was people were struggling with inviting in new clients, getting new clients into the business, and reaching out. So from that, and if this podcast has resonated with you, or if you are struggling with that, I actually created a masterclass because I was like, okay, how can I assist these people if they're not at a place where they're ready to work one-to-one or take up all-in business program, because that feels like super overwhelming, because I get it. That was a lot of the feedback too. I was like, I want to create just that first simple step that would help everybody that I'm talking to. And so I created a masterclass called From Healer to CEO, designing your aligned business with breathwork, vision, and also using AI components consciously in a way that works. And trust me, I had resistance to AI too. This is all about using your energy and your magic and your nervous system and your idea for your business in a way that works for you and your unique business. So it's going to be a 2-hour class online. We'll dive more into those elements we discussed today about creating a business. We'll have practical demonstrations and guided breathwork, step-by-step ways to implement. Like, you'll walk away from this class having created your own brand book, or at least you'll have the way to do it. We'll do part of it together during the class, but walk away with a brand book that will help you with your messaging and your content and your writing, so that you can have clarity and practical tools and an embodied sense of what it feels like when you bring all of you to your business and identify as like, okay, I got this. I'm not only a healer, but I'm a CEO of my own business. So if that interests you, you can find all the details at EmilyEvansRussell.com/CEO. So I really did create this based on these beautiful conversations I've had with people, and for intuitive practitioners and creators who are ready to transform their gifts into a sustainable business so it doesn't just feel like an expensive hobby. Because I heard that from a lot of people and I was like, boy, do I get that. So if this episode was a contribution, it would mean the world to me to subscribe to the podcast, share it with someone you know if you think it would contribute to them as well. And I hope to see you online or in person soon, or get a message from you, a DM on Instagram, Facebook. I'm there as well. And thank you for being here. I hope you got something out of that episode. If you like this podcast, please share it with someone you know who'd find it useful or interesting, and subscribe so that you can listen to past and upcoming shows.